Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, it's time for another rant. I haven't had a rant for a while, and I'm in good form at the moment because I have just had guts full of the media spreading disinformation, vilifying us, telling people that we are bad and evil and we're bad actors, that we are perverts and that we are terrorists just because we choose to fly drones. It's gone on for a long time. There was a bit of a lull for a while, but it's getting worse now, and I spotted a story just the other day, what was it, on the 1st of September 2023, which just made my blood boil, and I'm going to share it with you, and hopefully you'll see why I'm so cross, why you should be angry as well. Now, this story was on the UK website of the year, the Telegraph, on their website, as I published 1st of September, and it's by Sophie Dickinson. Never heard of her. Hope I never hear from her again, because now, give you a bit of backstory. In 1999, I was the editor for what was at the time the world's most widely syndicated web-based news service. It was bigger than CNN, bigger than Fox News, bigger than the BBC on the internet. It was the biggest news service of its type that existed at the time. I was the editor. It was my job to make sure that stories were of a suitable journalistic content, that they contained facts, and that they were suitable for publication. Now, as a journalist, one of the worst things you can call someone is a hack. And I'm afraid, Sophie, in my honest opinion, you are the worst of all the hacks I've ever had the unfortunate displeasure to come across. Yeah, I'm going to explain why that is my opinion as I go through this story. I'm going to bring up some unfortunate facts. I'm going to challenge some of your statements, and I'm just going to make people stop and think about this, because just the headline of the story sets the tone for the whole damn thing. And remember, this is the best the UK news has to offer online, because it's the UK news website of the year, the Telegraph, which you would think there'd be a certain cachet, a certain prestige, a certain level of performance from a journalistic perspective associated with such a prestigious award. Yet we have this story. So I'm holding the Telegraph and Sophie responsible for this piece of misinformation, disinformation. It's terrible. Remember, these days, if you spread misinformation, you can get cancelled in a big way. If you have a YouTube channel and you spread disinformation, you can have that channel removed, deleted overnight. No warnings, but you're gone. In fact, during the recent human malware, the pandemic, a lot of people lost their YouTube channels because they dared to go against the narrative that was prevailing at the day. Their claims were considered to be disinformation, misinformation. Some of those claims have subsequently proven to be true, but it doesn't matter. They were still disinformation, misinformation, cannot be acceptable. You're gone. So, and I know other governments around the world, they even have official government departments challenged with dealing with and suppressing this disinformation, this misinformation, because it's unacceptable. The people must know the truth, according to the government. Yet we have crap like this being published by mainstream media as fact and not challenged. I'm going to challenge it here today. So let's get started. Let's look at that headline. It's only a matter of time before a drone brings down a jet. Ooh, how emotive is that? Ooh, fear-mongering. Ooh, that's a good clickbait headline, isn't it? And the reality is it's true. It is absolutely true. So why am I grizzling? Well, it's a fact that if you're given enough time, anything that can happen will happen. Life on Earth is proof of that. The odds of life spontaneously appearing on the planet Earth are incredibly low. But the planet's been around for many billions of years, so obviously, at some stage, it happened. Anything that can happen will happen, given enough time. So eventually a drone will collide with a jet and bring it down. But the thing we have to look at is, how long is that time? Is it going to be tomorrow, or is it going to be in 50 years' time? Now, drones have been a thing for over a decade, and we have had not one instance where a drone has caused a manned aircraft to crash and burn. Hasn't happened. Certainly not an airliner, not even small lightweight manned aircraft have been brought down by drones. So we can say 0 instances in 10 years means it's a very, very low probability that this is going to happen. It can't be dismissed, but is it worth writing a story and bringing fear into the hearts of everyday people when the risk is obviously so low? Anyway, let's read on, see what she has to say. And again, we get all emotive here because the subheadline is, Air safety experts believe the devices are a ticking time bomb. Ticking time bomb. With ownership at record levels and near misses with aircrafts on the rise. Oh my God. Yeah, but if you rise from a low figure, does it really matter? And there have been no instances of drones bringing down jets. Not likely to be in the foreseeable future. Anyway, let's read on. Let's read the dross that this hack has produced. I would call this creative writing. At school, we had these, we had to write an essay. This is what Sophie's done. She's written a work of fiction designed to scare people into clicking on a headline. That is not journalism. That is very, very bad. Anyway, she starts digging a hole here. She's going to dig a hole. The UK Telegraph has handed her a spade, which is the platform on which this is published, to dig a hole, and she's gone at it. I've never seen anyone dig so vigorously, quickly, or effectively. Let's look at the first spade full of dirt she's moved. She says, earlier this month, the right wing of an Emirates flight was seriously damaged after a suspected mid-air collision with a drone as it was landing at Nice Côte d'Azur Airport. Now, I covered this, remember? I showed a picture of slat leading edge damage, and we looked at it, and all the people who've looked at it have said it was very unlikely to be a drone. In fact, I understand that the final report submitted for investigation doesn't even mention a drone because there's no evidence of a drone. There's no scuffed plastic, there's no bits and pieces lying on the runway, nothing. There's nothing to indicate a drone was involved at all. Zero evidence. Yet, Sophie prefers to opt on the side of sensationalism and report that it could have been a drone. In fact, it was seriously damaged after a suspected mid-air collision. And then she goes on to say, it is one of the many recent incidents that involve drones interfering with aviation, and experts warn the situation is far from improving. Anyway, then she says, though the latest incident is particularly worrying because it seems to have involved actual contact, the risk from drones to aviation is much more far-reaching than collisions alone. Much more far-reaching than collisions alone. I've read this thing through. Sophie's grasp of the English language is a little bit tenuous. Maybe she's a young recruit. Maybe she's an intern. I don't know, but I'm a little bit of a grammar policeman, and I like to preserve the quality of the language I use. Sophie, not so much. Anyway, she does a little bit of abuse to the language as we go through here. That's aside from the factual and consistency. So she started digging a hole. She's presented what was very much a speculation as almost being fact. Then she goes on with the next spadeful to say the infamous episode at Gatwick in 2018 in which sightings of 2 or possibly 1 or possibly more drones closed the airport for upwards of 30 hours, causing countless delays and plenty of Christmas heartbreak. As I say, tugging on those heartstrings, emotional, isn't it? But hang on a minute, how many drones were there? 2? 1? Possibly more. This sentence is a complete abomination. Why didn't you just say an unknown number or several drones? You can't. This is just terrible. This is bad writing, and it's factually incorrect because subsequent reports have almost certainly concluded that there was no drone at Gatwick. If you'd done some research other than, flicking through a couple of old editions of the Telegraph, you'd probably have found that many experts have challenged the very assertion that there were drones at Gatwick, other than police drones, and a helicopter, and a crane with a light on it miles away in the distance. Those assertions have been challenged, and no evidence has been produced by anybody that there was actually a drone at Gatwick. And as a journalist, you should be dealing in facts and evidence, not in speculations, not in hearsay, not in what-ifs. That's not your job. Your job isn't to speculate. Your job is not to pluck things out of your little feminine derriere and present them as facts. I'm sorry, Sophie, but this is terrible. Anyway, that was the next spade of dirt she's digging out here. Let's read on. Can she dig any deeper? What have we got here? Now there are dozens and dozens of incidents per month at each airport. Now, I don't think it's impossible that a big accident will happen. If bird strikes can immobilize an engine, a drone can certainly cause significant damage. That's so true, but surely the bigger story here is not that an airline has never been damaged by a drone. It's that every year over $400 million worth of damage is caused to airliners by birds. You could have written a story, a tiger did not attack a man in Piccadilly Circus this week. This is the story you're writing. Things that didn't happen. And we should be worried because a tiger could do that. Yeah, sure. Given the fullness of time, a circus could be passing through London and a tiger could escape and it could bite someone. Do you really think that's a news story? Because that's the kind of approach you're taking with this drone thing. It's no, speculation. It's crap. It's ridiculous. What have we got here? The Aviation Safety Network database lists 23 reported collisions. although experts suspect the number of near misses is much more substantial. Much more substantial. Get ready for the next spadeful of dirt. Here we go. In 2016, a drone reportedly collided with a British Airways flight at Heathrow Airport, although the pilot managed to land safely. What a relief. Now, Sophie, if you'd gone on the interwebs, and I'm sure you're young enough to know how to use the interwebs, and done just 30 seconds of research, you'd have come up with a whole lot of stories that followed up on that initial report. Here's one of them. I found it in 30 seconds. And it says, it wasn't a drone that hit that plane landing at Heathrow, but you couldn't be bothered doing this. And it says, the drone that collided with the plane landing at Heathrow probably wasn't a drone. Government officials have said, and if you can't believe the government, who can you believe? The item the plane may have hit may have even been a plastic bag. Sophie, you misrepresent things so badly. That hole you're in, can you even see the light above you now? You're so deep into this. It's terrible. But wait. She's not exhausted. She's still digging. Listen to this. Earlier this year, a Russian jet collided with an American drone above the Black Sea, causing damage to both. So you are telling us that maybe airliners are at risk from military drones? American military drones? Seriously? Is this a real threat? Is this something we should all be worried about? Because the drones that we're talking about, that hobbyists fly, are not like those military drones. But you're lumping them all in together. Oh, yeah, military drone. Yeah. Oh, God, seriously. You must have finished digging now, right? Surely this massive disinformation, misinformation can't be worse, can it? Let's read on and find out. It's terrible. What do we got here? Research shows that a drone collision at speed in the air through the walls of an aircraft is enough to down an aircraft. If a drone was to go through the windscreen of an aircraft, it would certainly incapacitate the crew. He says, she's quoting someone here, Professor David Dunn, is it? Yes, absolutely true. If a drone was to go through the windscreen of an aircraft, it could incapacitate. True. Did you do any research, Sophia? Have you actually checked to see whether a drone would go through the windscreen of an airliner? Well, again, just a few seconds research on the interwebs produces this footage here, where a drone crashes into an airline windscreen and just explodes and flies off in pieces. Doesn't penetrate. Zero penetration. Sophie, you didn't research a damn thing. You're speculating. If. Good journalism isn't based on if. It's based on facts. But you don't know that, do you? Because you're not a good journalist. You're not a journalist. You're a hack. Just a hack, in my honest opinion. Right? But now she gets into categorizing people who fly drones. And this vilification. Listen to it. Drone users are typically divided into three groups. Who does this dividing? Who said that they're divided into three groups? Where's your source? Quote somebody. Did you decide this? You just decided it? Okay, you should say so. I've decided drone users are typically divided, and typically implies that there's a consensus. So no, I'm sorry. This is bad. This is crap again. Anyway, drone users are typically divided into three groups. There are the hobbyists who, like model aircraft enthusiasts, actually includes model aircraft enthusiasts because as far as the regulators are concerned, they're all drones. Doesn't matter if they're a model of a Piper Cub or a Mavic, it's a drone. So she doesn't understand that there's no distinction drawn. Anyway, drone users are typically divided into three groups. There are the hobbyists who, like model aircraft enthusiasts, are dedicated aficionados who pay keen attention to safety. Yes, we do. The only risk they typically pose is a lack of awareness about restrictions around certain areas of airspace. And my understanding is that most people have an awareness and they are pretty safety conscious. That's the first group. Woohoo! Now, she goes on to talk about where you're allowed to fly. But this, if you're a drone retailer and you sell something other than DJI, listen to this. Because she goes on to say, the rules are largely well known, although the ability to buy cheaper, smaller models from less reputable retailers means the risk remains significant. Smaller drones are a risk. And if you're selling small drones, you are less reputable. How dare you sell a smaller drone that probably isn't DJI? How dare you? How jolly dare you? You're a bad person for selling small drones. Oh no, this is crap. Oh, I hope I've incensed a few retailers out there right now. Anyway, and now the second type of threat. Hang on. So what you're saying is this is the second type of threat. So the hobbyists are a threat. You didn't say that up here, but you're saying it down here because this is the second type. This must be the first type of threat. The hobbyists and aficionados are a threat. No, they're not. This is where you're vilifying a group unreasonably. You're telling lies. We are not a threat to anybody. Anyway, the second type of threat comes from intentional disruptors. Various environmental groups have used this tactic as a means of protest in recent years. Yes, the Extinction Revolution crowd threatened to fly drones off the end of Heathrow. I don't know if they ever did, but they threatened it. And this is where, Sophie, you should be keeping an eye on things because, as the people who watch this channel know, there is about to be a very big news story breaking about drones, about airports, about environmental groups, about protesting and about disruption of air travel. Yes. You can contact me. I'll give you all the details if you want. But you're making stuff up when there are bigger stories based on fact and evidence of far more import, global import, and you're making this crap up. You're not doing your job. Editor of the Telegraph, contact me if you want information and give it to a reputable reporter, not a hack, and we might get a good story out of this. You might be able to redeem some of your reputation. Just contact me through the YouTube channel. You'll find out how to go to the About page. There's a link. Right. Now, the third and most dangerous group is made up of those willing to use drones as a tool for terrorism. Woo! Now, do we have any evidence this is happening in the UK? Do you have any cases you can cite? Have there been any actual terrorist use of drones? Please, because this is supposed to be a news report, journalism. Where's your research? You're speculating that someone may use a drone for terrorism in the UK. I don't know. Anyway, and this is where it gets even worse. Get the shovel out, girl. You're still digging. Access to drones is much easier than access to firearms in the UK, says Professor David Dunn, making it attractive, if not a risk-free, means for an attack. These machines are already used to great effect in warfare, with the Ukrainian war effort in particular making great use of quick, cheap to acquire drones. Now, oh my God, you don't understand, do you? Have you watched any of the footage from Ukraine? Drones are not killing anybody. Drones are not destroying anything. What drones are doing is they are delivering explosives that kill people, explosives that destroy things. So if you are in fear that drones can be used to do bad things by terrorists, should you be worried about them getting their hands on drones or getting their hands on explosives, given that a drone on its own is not a risk? I think you don't understand that a drone without a bomb is just a drone, but a bomb without a drone, well, that's still a bomb. So why are you looking at the zero risk and complaining and ignoring the actual risk, which is explosives? How can people in the UK get their hands on explosives to weaponize drones? If you think that's a possibility, why haven't you done a story on it? Why haven't you done the investigative journalism to find out who's doing this, how they're doing it, where they're getting the explosives from, who's benefiting? Those are stories. That's journalism. Just saying, oh, someone could put a bomb on a drone, that's not a story. That's not journalism. That's creative writing. And this Telegraph, you're not supposed to be in the creative writing business. This isn't Amazon Books. This is supposedly the best UK news website there is. And I can't believe that for a moment. Okay, let's see if there's anything else in here. Oh, yes. Details on the total number of collisions are not publicly available. Do you know why that is? Did you ask why they're not available? I'll tell you why, Sophie. Because there are none. Because this perceived threat is a narrative that's been created to allow draconian regulation to be applied to what has proven to be one of the safest pastimes in the world. Just for your information, Sophie, not one person has ever died anywhere on the planet in the entire history of mankind as the result of the recreational use of multi-rotor drones. Find any other pastime that has such a safety record. You will not find one. This is one of the safest things you can do in the world. And these things are not colliding with manned aircraft, not in an evidenced way. There are plenty of claims, but when, like the shopping bag at Heathrow, pilot claimed that hit a drone. Turned out, hit a shopping bag. This is what happens. These things are misreported, and therefore when you look for evidenced instances, evidence-proven cases, there are none. So they won't release the number of collisions because it wouldn't suit the claim that these things are dangerous. We must regulate them. It doesn't suit the narrative. That's a bigger story, that we're being lied to and misinformed by the very people who are making the rules supposedly to keep us safe. Why aren't you chasing that one? Too hard? You'd have to put your coffee down? Stop eating your biscuits and scones? I don't know. And now we have Simon Dale, who's a straight up guy. I think he formed FPV UK, done a lot of great work in this area. Runs the AirProx reality check website, which is like this. It's a bit of a fact checker and a myth buster. He's quoted in here. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I believe Simon has been quoted out of context. I believe that's damaging to Simon, and I think that this is something that when I was an editor, if a journalist had done this, they would have been out the door in the blink of an eye. They would no longer have a job, and a freelancer would never be re-employed to do anything if they had misrepresented someone's quote. And I honestly believe that's what's happened here. And I don't know, Simon, if you're in the comments, you can perhaps say if that's the case, because I believe this is a real injustice to Simon. Yeah, it's crap. Anything else? Oh, yes, not unsurprisingly, the CIA agrees. In a statement, a spokesperson said, when used illegally, drones have the ability to cause severe disruption, not the least near airports. Are we surprised? Because anything used illegally can cause disruption. Do you know that there are roads blocked in the UK on a regular basis by environmental protesters who get banners and glue themselves to the road illegally, causing huge disruption? So do we ban glue? Are we worried about that? Illegal activities, by their very definition, cause disruption or cause problems. So CAA, your category on Mastermind is the bleeding obvious, and you would win hands down. So that's it. That's my little rant. I just wanted to have a rant. Now, I've got another story which is equally as bad, although it's from the Daily Mail, which means you don't expect any sensible level of fact-checking or reporting from the Daily Mail. And I've got another one, which is actually from a major news organisation where they have misrepresented the facts, but it works in our favour. If you want to see that, go to the comments and tell me. I'm going to do a little video on that one, show you how when the media is totally incompetent, sometimes it's not malice, it's just because they're incompetent. They just don't know what they're talking about. And sometimes it works in our favour. Not very often, but on this one occasion, it does. So, yeah, anyway, my rant over. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a good cathartic experience, And what do you think? Is the media just doing too much of this misinforming? Are they treating us badly by misrepresenting us? Is it any wonder that people flying drones are accosted by the public and threatened because the public believe that they are perverts, they are bad actors, they are terrorists, they are trying to bring down airliners because of ridiculous pieces of fiction like this? Should we be outraged by this? I am. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's reasonable. And I think hacks like Sophie should never write another thing. And the Telegraph should withdraw and apologise for this article and admit that this is not a fact-based story and that it should never have been published as fact. If they don't, well, one can only draw the obvious conclusions. There you go, folks. I enjoy my rants. I hope you enjoy them too. And I'll get you back to normal programming as soon as possible. In the meantime, I've got work to do. Thank you to those people who are kind enough to support this channel through Patreon or through channel membership. It makes the world of difference. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe and tell other people. Link this on your socials so that other people can see just what a bad job the media is doing when it comes to reporting about drones. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.